Okay, so today we're going to review 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication. This is something that you should have learned last year, but it may be something that we just need to do a little bit more practice on to make sure that we feel good about it before we start our long division. So before we start, when we talked about the base 10 system, it's all about that place value chart up there. And we talked about how you can move along the place value chart by multiplying or dividing by powers of 10. So at the very top, we're going to make a note. And this is something that can help you whenever you're working with the metric system in science. We will get to the metric system later this year as well when we get to our measurement unit. But anytime you multiply by 10, what you are actually doing is you are moving the decimal point to the right one place. When you multiply a number by 100, you're moving the decimal point to the right 2 places. Does anybody notice anything so far that looks like a pattern? What do you notice? 1, 2. What else do you notice? I move to the right 1 place if I'm multiplying by 10. If I multiply by 100, I move 2 places. If I multiply by 1,000, how many places do you think I move? 3 places, so that's correct. I'm going to move to the right 3 places. But what I want you to notice is that when I multiply by 10, I have 1 0. I move 1 place. When I multiply by 100, I have 2 zeros. I move 2 places. When I multiply by 1,000, how many zeros do I have?
3.
And I move 3 places. Okay, so when you're multiplying by powers of 10, it's as simple as moving that decimal a certain number of places. Go ahead and step out. I'll talk to you in a second. Okay, we're going to do a couple of practice problems. We have 632 times 49. So we are going to look at expanded notation first. Oh, I think something got moved. Hold on. It did. Oh. I know I saw it. Did y'all see a weird like rectangle looking thing?
No.
Okay, well, I had one. Oh, there it is. There it is right there.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, I see it. Lily.
I knew it was in there somewhere.
That wasn't me.
It's a rectangle. I had whited out. I can't grab a hold of it. There we go. I had whited this part out right here so that y'all weren't confused. Okay. So expanded notation. If you think back to when we did place value, we broke apart a number and we showed the value of each digit in that number. So I have a 6 in the hundreds place, which means I have 6 hundreds. 3 in the tens place, which is 30 or 3 tens. And then a 2 in the ones place, which is just 2. So right here, I've broken that up in expanded notation form for both of my numbers. So we're going to look at this. I'm going to use 2 different colors to show you my 2 partial products. So you can use a pencil and a red pen if you don't have any other colors that you have at your table. That'll work great. Okay. I'm going to wait until people are done talking and paying attention. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my ones place on the bottom. So I'm going to start with the 9, and I'm going to multiply it by the other ones place. So I'm going to do 9 times 2, which is 18. Then I'm going to take the 9 in the ones place and multiply it by the 3 in the tens place, which is like multiplying 9 times 30. And if I do 9 times 30, all I have to really look at is the 9 and the 3. I know that 9 times 3 is 27. And then I just put the 0 at the end. So it makes 270. Then I take the 9, multiply it all the way over here by the 6 in the hundreds place, which is like multiplying 9 times 600. So 9 times 6 is 54. And then I add those 2 zeros to make Okay, next I'm going to take the 40. I'm going to take the 4 in the tens place, and I'm going to multiply it by all of my top numbers, starting with the ones place. So 40 times 2 is what? 80. Then I'm going to do 40 times 30. What is 4 times 3? 12. And how many zeros do I have? I have 2 zeros, so it's going to be 1, 2, 0, 0. And then the last one is going to be 40 times 600. And what is 4 times 6? 24. And I have 3 zeros, so it's 24,000. Now, I'm going to add all of those partial products together. So up here in this little box, it says add blank. We're going to write add partial products. All of those numbers are considered partial products. When I add them all together, I end up with 30,968. Okay, so over here I'm going to make a note. Partial products use patterns of zeros. Do you see all of those zeros? They use patterns of zeros to find the product of multiples of 10. So that's a way to use expanded notation, looking at the value of each digit, multiplying the ones to the ones, the ones to the tens, the ones to the hundreds, and so on. The way that you guys are probably the most familiar with is a standard algorithm, which is off to the right, where you just follow a series of steps. Step 1 is highly encouraged. I'm not going to force you to grid your numbers, but it's highly encouraged, especially if you tend to write kind of sloppy and your numbers get all blurred together. Then gridding your numbers is super helpful. And something that y'all can all do is just grab a sheet of notebook paper and turn it sideways. So if you notice, if I were to take a sheet of notebook paper and turn it sideways, these would be like writing in between the lines. Do y'all see? So if you have a problem keeping your numbers like lined up perfectly, just grab a sheet. I always have notebook paper. Y'all grab a sheet, turn it sideways, and then you can just line up your digits there. And you don't even have to draw any lines. It's completely up to you. But step 2 is mandatory. You have to do this part because otherwise it's not going to solve itself. So I'm going to start in the ones place, and I'm going to multiply the 9 times the other ones digit. So 9 times 2 is 18. And I'm going to carry that 1 over to the tens column. Now I'm going to do 9 times 3, which is 27, plus the 1 that I carried, 28. And I got to carry my 2. And then the last thing I do is 9 times 6, which is 54, plus the 2 that I carried, which is 56. So 54 plus 2 is 56. And now I'm going to do step 3, which says remember 0 the hero. So I'm going to put my placeholder here. I'm going to also mark out my 9 because I don't want to multiply that anymore. And I'm also going to cross out everything that I carried from the last thing. That way nothing is reused or confused. And now I can start multiplying my 4. So 4 times 2. And then 4 times 3. 12. And I got to carry my 1. And then 4 times 6 is 24. Plus the 1 is 25. Now I'll add them all together. And I end up with the exact same thing that I had the first time, but I did it using the standard algorithm versus expanded notation form. Okay, now on your paper, I had a different problem written. I wrote down, what was it? 703. Okay, I want you and your group to solve that one together, and then we're going to check it. So use your steps above and off to the side written out, and you guys can go ahead and do that one together. So you have your 2 partial products. Then you have your final product of 39,368. Let's do one more for practice. Let's do 983 times 46. One partial product at a time. So solve the first partial product, check with your group. If anybody has a different partial product, y'all need to figure out where somebody made a mistake. Okay, your first partial product should be 5,898. First partial product is 5,898. Then you put your placeholder, you mark everything out that you've already used, and then you start multiplying the 4 times all of the top numbers. So 4 times 3 is 12, carry your 1. 4 times 8 is 32, plus the 1 I just carried makes 33. Carry the 3 in the tens place. And 4 times 9 is 36, plus that 3 you just carried is 39. Those are your 2 partial products. Once you have those 2, then you add them together. And your answer should be 45,218. Okay, let's look at our practice on the next side. All right, number 1 says each storage unit at a dairy farm holds 163 gallons of milk. How many gallons of milk can be held by 47 storage units? Okay, if I am using my cubes method, which is circle my numbers, underline my question, I'm going to have 163 gallons circled. I'm going to have 47 circled. I'm going to underline how many gallons of milk can be held by 47 storage units. I'm going to box in keywords, so words like each, each is going to tell me to either multiply or it can also mean divide. So then you have to look at the numbers given. Am I using the 2 numbers given to get a larger number, which means I'll multiply? Or am I given a bigger number and a smaller number and I'm trying to get even smaller, which means divide? I'm multiplying. So you have to look at the numbers given. It says how many gallons of milk can be held by 47 storage units. If I know that 163 gallons of milk is in 1 unit, and I want to know how many 47 can hold, then I have to multiply those together. So I'm going to do 163 times 47. I'm going to get my first partial product by multiplying this 7 by all of the top numbers. So I'm going to do, you should be writing with me. If I'm writing, you're writing. If I circle, you circle. If I underline, you underline. If I box, you box. 7 times 3 is 21, carry your 2. 7 times 6 is 42 plus the 2 that I carried, which makes 44. And then 7 times 1 in the hundreds place is 7 plus the 4 that I carried is how much? 11. So your first partial product is 1141. Now what do I have to do next? 0. Very good. Before I do anything else, I want to cross out everything I've already used and put 0 the hero. Now I can start multiplying the 4 times the 3, which is 12, carry my 1. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And then 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 2 is 6. So I'm going to add those together. And my answer should be C. Okay, I'm going to let you and your group work on the last 2 together. Circle your numbers, underline the question, box your keywords, then solve. If you have any extra information that's not needed, you can cross it out. That's the E in cubes. Eliminate your extra information. Okay, we'll check it together in just a couple minutes.